Yeah, I rarely recognize that term, having fear-based behavior. My pivot on that notion is that I want loved-based behavior. When I look at my kids, talk to my kids, love-based, let's make decisions based on a love. What's good for us right now? What do we need to do?
Good morning, Native America.
Hey, I'm Santana.
And I'm Haley.
I'm Bella.
And this is
Young and Indigenous Podcast.
And I'm here with
Connor.
Young and Indigenous Podcast is an outlet for people to know about Indigenous knowledge, storytelling, and history. Through our youthful journeys as Indigenous people, through these stories, young people and elders share their experiences with us. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do this.
About to tell some red stories. Stay tuned.
Here we are on set with Sam Bob for CSSP's pilot episode of our first narrative series. This series is based around youth mental health and really finding your identity and culture. It's a coming-of-age story of a group of kids freshly out of high school and really just struggling to find their identity, and it's their journey. The Yay team has been having so much fun here. We all have roles in production, and we're set designing, and we're helping with wardrobe, and it's a super cool experience. And we had the privilege of interviewing some of the actors, and this is our interview with Sam Bob.
All right, just tell me who you are and where you're from, and kind of just a little about you and what you do.
Sam Bob, Snotnose First Nations, Vancouver Island. I come from, my mother is from the Lykes Reserve in the Gulf Islands. And I was raised in Nanu's Bay with my parents, and then I was raised with my grandparents in Cowichan for 3 years before I went to residential school at Cooper Island Res, and then moved back to Vancouver and moved to LA, and I've been living in Vancouver, Canada for the last chunk of years and raising 4 children there, and currently employed as a full-time actor and writer. And it's really cool to be here to work on Canoe Journeys. It's a surreal labor of love from everybody involved. I can see, and I'm excited to see I'm excited to see the show when it comes out and working on it.
Wow, you've been through the residential school?
Yeah, I went to grades 1 and 2 in residential school, and survivor, and yeah, the dark side of it for sure. All my siblings all went. And my parents both went, but not my grandparents. My parents both went, and so it was. So it's really part of, for me, the thing that I've seen is that being part of history, going through that, but not wanting to be part of history, because I don't want my kids to be part of history. I don't want my grandchildren to be part of history. I want them to be themselves. I don't want them to be like burnt toast, smelling that smell, whatever it is in the house. I don't want that anymore. I want clear, clean living for them and clean new beginnings for our children and our grandchildren. So I'm very happy to leave it in the past, but I'm totally willing to talk about it with my kids in order that, that we learn something. Because the effects of it are still around, whether we like it or not. The intergenerational effects, regardless of your opinions, those are still affecting our young people, and I don't like that.
Definitely. I know before our chief passed away, he said one of the things that we needed to do was to get the stories out of the residential schools, and after that, that happened actually after, he passed. So I think you're like the first person that I've actually got to be in contact with, because I was doing some research on it, and then I kind of stopped because it's a lot right now. So yeah.
My mother, she told me about her experiences. It was very hardcore. The previous, the previous generation always has it a bit harder, because my mom was like in the 50s, in the 40s and 50s or whatever, growing up. My dad too, and the Port Alberni Res was one of the worst res schools in the history of Canada, and my dad was there. And I had an uncle and an aunt that died as children, that were murdered as children in Port Alberni Res. And my dad and I were looking at opening up criminal proceedings about that, because we can't let it be forgotten, can't let them be forgotten. And my mom, she told me about her experiences going through, the starvation of, just having to steal food. For us, it was, for me and my siblings, it was hard too, like the psychological, physical, sexual abuse, that was all there, because they hired anybody to work in res schools back then. And they didn't keep the creeps out or whatever, so yeah, and I could see like you're just putting your kids in landmines when you put them in places like that, and just overcoming it has been for me. I've been 18 years sober. Well, I've had to be, because I just, you can't medicate those kind of issues away. So you can't self-medicate those things away. So I needed to do some deep healing, which I believe in my culture, and I believe in any kind of help, self-help, self-healing, because that's who my grandmother was. I was lucky because I was raised by my grandmother before residential school, and she did a lot of, in our, about our traditions, our culture. She did a lot of work on me. Like a lot of spiritual and mental and like healing work on me as a child, and I really felt that. I really felt that I had to key on that. I had to pivot on that in order to become because I got 4 kids. I want them to do well, and I got 3 grandchildren, and I want them to do well. And I've got 1 great grandchild now. Yeah, he's 1 year old. My son and his my son and his girlfriend, they had a baby very young, and then my granddaughter, ended up having a baby very young. So I'm like it's really, well, I guess Indian country, right? You're gonna have these things happen, but yeah, and I just have so much hope for the future generations. I've got cousins here in Seattle, and I went to visit them, and I met my cousin's granddaughter, and she is just a ray of sunshine, a beam of like positivity and hope, and she reminds me of my kids, right? And I'm like, it is something that we were working through, and the psychology about growing up in residential school, like any institution thing, is it is a negative conditioning on fear-based behavior, because everything was about questioning your safety and punishment and physical, strappings or whatever, So everything was fear-based, and I happened to I picked up that term in when I was in my healing journey, and it is so true, because you can't make any kind of quality decisions in life when you're worried about when you're not thinking clearly, when you're trying to reduce your harm and your pain about being who you are, and I think, I rarely recognize that term, having fear-based behavior, and it's my pivot on that notion is that I want love-based behavior. When I look at my kids, talk to my kids, love-based, let's make decisions based on love. What's good for us right now? What do we need to do? So it's that's my revelation, is that's what I want, and I always try to keep that in mind, and right now I think I've got one daughter that's working on her master's in nursing, and one daughter that's working on her master's in education, and my other daughter's an office manager, and my son's a rowdy rodbuster, rebar worker, construction worker. So I get a mix of everything, and it's like, but it's it's still hard, because there's still a lot happening. Whenever you lose a young person because of whatever, it's hard, because in my mind, and some of it's like, it's like, because my generation, the ones that haven't dealt with like all the, I went through like a whole whack of healing stuff to get over, because I didn't want to be shackled with the chains of residential school in my daily life anymore. I did not want that. But you have to do the work to get away from that. You can't just like, it doesn't affect me. You can't repress it. Like, people try to stuff it down, but you got to deal with it, because it'll crop its heads up at seemingly important times, when you're making decisions in life. Like, and I really want, like, everything that, people are saying, well, what do you want to do as a survivor? And it's like, for me, it's like all of us that are still living, that are survivors of residential school, I think we're already kind of where we're at, where we're going to be. But the ones that we want to focus on, put our interests on, is the young people. Those like dealing with intergenerational effects, and it has affected my kids too. And as much as I didn't want it to, it did, because you can't hide from it. It's like, it's going to happen, and and that's why I sobered up too, because I wanted to eliminate anything that was negative, so in order to see clearly. And it's very easy to get sucked into to trying to ignore it and pretend it's not there. But then if you don't if my generation doesn't deal with those things, it's not going to go. It'll crop up in the next generation. And so that's why my generation has to do all the healing work that they can. And it's kind of, that's what I see. And then I'm really just glad to, that mostly my kids are good. So, and like when I met my niece in Seattle here, I was like, wow, she's really cool and really good to see her being happy. I am just swallowing happy heart, happy spirit.
Wow, I'm really sorry all that happened. It's kind of mind blows me how things are now and how the law is, and yet they've done all those things to us, and didn't get put in jail or anything for it. But I'm really glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're healing, and I'm glad that you shared your story. So thank you for sharing that. It must have been really hard all through the years, but
culture is healing. Like, I've been working with a Lummi elder, L. Scott Johnny, who's been a tremendous wealth of information in cultural teachings and language. And I feel like it's really helped me ground my character into a Lummi character. Like Rudy the bus driver I think it's really, for me, it's like the backbone of it is from my talks with Al Scott Johnny, who I happen to have known. I've known him for a few years now, because I helped to do a play in White Rock a number of years, about five years ago. In White Rock, it was the 150-year celebration of the city of White Rock, and they did a retrospective kind of a musical, like a story about the city of White Rock. And my friend who was doing the play, he said, Sam, I think the legend of White Rock itself, the White Rock that's on the beach, the legend, I think that's a native legend. It's not a Greek legend. And he said, could you come and take a look at this, with their script? And so I said, I did. Okay, I'll take a look at it. And I went, and it was the White Rock, traditionally called Puke'elis, and in our First Nations, the Semiahmoo people. And I checked, the legend of Puke'elis was from a Cowichan legend, where about two chiefs, the young chief was arguing with the older chief to marry his daughter, and they got into a big fight. And he said, and the young chief picked up this boulder, and he says, wherever this boulder lands is where I'm going to bring my wife and my people. So legend has it, he threw it across the water from the island, and it landed in Semiahmoo. And that's where the people came from. They went and settled there, and that was Puke'elis. Puk is white. Puke'elis is White Rock. And I checked the legend with the Cowichan elder, Arvid Charlie. And then I checked I talked to Semiahmoo about Arvid Charlie's, and they said to check what their elder is in Lummi is Al Scott Johnny. So I checked with Al Scott Johnny, and we talked. We met and talked, and he acknowledged, yes, that's where the legend came from. So bringing this to the play, it's not a Greek legend. This is a traditional story about Puke'elis. It's White Rock. It's a traditional native legend that brings this story about. And so we put it into the play, and it really opened the eyes of the city of White Rock. That it's a native beginning to the city, and also it was really good because it made connections because the city and the Samiama they were trying to negotiate water rights, and I think the play actually brought them back to the table, and within a year or two, like, Samiama was tied back in to the water system of White Rock because there were disputes or whatever. But I felt like we had me and Al and Arvid, and we all brought it together to make it a part, bring the story back out. And it was, and it's really, I really believe that it's like, that's healing, it's when we bring back our culture, bring back our teachings. It's very much a healing thing. So.
It totally is. That's cool that you found that and brought that back, because like you said, some things don't get told in our ways, so you went and found that, and like you needed to be there so that you could tell that.
I also got a part in the play. He's because my buddy who's doing the play, he's like, well, you might as well do the story. You could do it you could do the story in the play. And he said, and so they quickly dovetailed my scenes into the play, and the Semiamu artist made me a beautiful cedar cape. It was really gorgeous. I'll show you pictures. And but no, it's really nice being out here in Lummi territory and seeing this whole, actually Lummi and Nooksack territory. So it's really nice to be out here to see. It's beautiful, like out in the ocean, and a canoe story. I really love that because when I was little, we used to travel to the across the line to canoe races all the time, and when there was no problems crossing the border because we're going to watch the canoe races. We're with the canoe clubs or whatever, but now crossing the border is a little more political than it ever was. So, and I really feel like we need a Coast Salish passport. Because our people, we've always traveled for each other's longhouses tradition. We've also traveled, for the canoe races. Also, namings and weddings and family relations. My uncle used to live on KG Road for a while. He was married there. So it's like our families, we should just get our own, like the Haudenosaunee people have their own passport. We should get our own Coast Salish passport because we've always shared the traditions, shared the ways, and we've always. And I'd like to see us work towards acknowledging that, then getting it recognized at the border because we shouldn't have that much problems to cross and do things to live our lives.
Exactly. I know, like, some people get charters over here and they're not even able to go back and go see their family and stuff, and I think that's just so wrong, because that's where they're from, and you're just gonna disregard them from where they're from.
Yeah, you know what that reminds me of too? It's like, didn't Germany have that problem? People don't remember that, the Berlin Wall, families being separated by a wall. So it's like, why can't we use the democracy that we have and recognizing the freedoms that we have, to be able to freely cross and to share our, if we have to, share our salmon or the canoe races, and just to be there for each other. Yeah.
What got you into writing and wanting to become an actress?
Oh my goodness! Oh, actually, my late sister, she passed away last month. She got me into acting. Yeah, I know. She was awesome. Kat Norris was a tremendous advocate for the people, and but no, she got me into it, and then I don't know. I really liked English in high school. I liked the part of us when we were studying plays in English class, and it was kind of the same thing about studying scripts. So I always had that, and then when I first did a scene in front of instructors, I was just a short summer program, and and watching the instructors all react to some scene that I was basically all I did was underline all the words that looked like important in the scene, and I just emphasized those words. That was the only thing I did. The way I did it, they're all laughing and they were all enthralled. I could see when you got an audience. Because I wasn't really sure what I was doing at the time, and then getting some training, doing some work with Spirit Song in Vancouver theater. It's not there anymore. It's an old native theater company, and then getting cast right out of school. Like production companies would come to the school to look for actors, and I got a couple of jobs right away out of school. They'd let me out of school to do a TV shows or a movie or something. And then after I graduated, still keeping busy with it, and lately that's all I've been doing is anything with acting, and just being able to do that full time. I'm really fortunate, and I have made really good friends, and a lot of my friends have gone on to do really big things and are doing really big things. So I'm really lucky, to be part of it and sharing. And I teach a free acting class at the Vancouver Native Friendship Center on Monday nights. Me and my friend Curtis Annicu, like we just want to keep passing it on, passing it forward, and it's free, even and it's a lot of fun. I really get a lot of joy out of it, because and it's sort of the same thing, even working with new actors, like on the show, working with new actors. It's nice to see them blossoming and getting, energized and as a way of expressing themselves. So that feels like a good thing.
It's really awesome. I'm gonna have to come check it out.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I book small gigs for the class. We've got one coming up on October 26th. It's at a Heart of the City Festival. We're going to do 30 minutes of comedy skits. Yeah.
That sounds really fun. How many acting stuff have you done?
Well, actually, one of my highlights, I got to do, I shot a film with Anthony Hopkins a few years back. It's called Blackway, and I got to do a scene. I worked with him for 2 days, and it was amazing. It was like, my agent called me and said, she called me like on a Thursday or Friday, and she goes, "Hey, a film called, and they want to know if you're available for Monday." I was like, "Oh, sure, okay." And they said, "It's working with Anthony Hopkins." I went, "Oh yeah, no problem. I think I could fit him in." And so I went to Enderby, shot this thing in Enderby and BC, and it was just we shot it all in a little diner, and he was amazing. It was like having a legend on set. It was like one of the craziest things, because when you have a legend on set, everybody's like taken aback. And he was so nice, so cordial, and it was nice to chat with him too, because he was, he told me that I love making films. It's what I love to do. I love it. And I went, "Oh yeah, it's like, me too. And then, and we did the scene, and I got to watch how he worked. And the thing that I really took away, my takeaway for me, was that I was watching how he worked, how he was incisive, focused, how he took direction, and how he fed the story in the scene. And I was like, all these little things that he was doing, I was like, wow, a lot of that is like the same way that I do things, the way I see things. I was like, and the reification for me was that, you know what, I'm okay. I'm okay at this job too, because Anthony Hopkins, well, Tony, he liked to be called Tony. Tony was doing the same things that I was doing, and I was watching him, and I'm standing shoulder to shoulder with him, and we're both working, and I felt like, I felt like there's a certain amount of doubt, self-doubt, that comes into being an actor. But at that moment, I didn't have that anymore, because friggin', if Tony's doing the same thing and I'm doing, it's like, he's a legend. I'm like working with, and it's like there's similar traits in his like work, how we work. I was like, yeah, I'm good. I go with that. Yeah. And other things I've done. Actually, I'm in a TV series right now called Louder Milk, but we got stopped because of COVID, and hopefully we can come back and do a 4th season. Yeah. And I did 3 seasons of a TV show called Health Nuts. That was a while back in Canada, and I've done several film projects. Let's see. Traveling around. I do a lot of theater too. I'm doing a theater show in February and March. We're doing a play in Calgary and in Ottawa in Canada. We're traveling for 5 weeks, and I'm looking forward to that because it's I haven't done a play in Ottawa before, and I've done a play in Calgary before, but not like this is a full production. So yeah, it's a comedy, and plus it's a comedy. I love comedies. So
all right, they're gonna steal you, but I just want to say hi, Shka, and thank you for all of your words and everything that you're doing. It's really awesome, and just telling me about your healing journey and the things you went through and the residential schools, and just the fact that you're here and you're helping all of our younger actors as well. I think that's really cool that they get to experience this with you, and I'm just glad that you're here. Is there anything that you'd want to tell upcoming actors and what they would?
Oh yeah, get training wherever you can, and don't be afraid to try things. Like even if it sounds weird. I got one thing. When you do an audition, like if you want to try it for stuff, fall right into the script. Doesn't matter how badly it's written or how weird it sounds. Just fall. I call it falling into belief. The notion like falling in love, but for acting, it's falling into belief of the story, whatever the script is, and you do it to 100. Yeah. Because my advice is, I did an audition once, and it was a science fiction show, and it had something to do with creatures walking around the reserve, and I was the native sheriff or something. And I was like, this is so stupid. I just went in there and I just was like, this is dumb. I just kind of blew the audition out. And the audition, I just kind of flubbed it without, and it turns out I ended up being one of the biggest fans of X-Files, the TV show, and I blew an audition, and I ended up being one of the big nerdy fans of X-Files, because I was like, oh, look at this script, what is this? But never judge anything, never judge anything to, at face value, because you never know how creativity can. It can affect your work. So.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Sam, Bob. I really appreciate your time today. Now go have some fun.
Yep. Oh, yep. Yeah. Right top. Okay.
Hi, Shka. Thank you, Sam Bob, for taking the time to share your stories with us. You are an important role model to our people. You show light and passion in the things you are doing in your life. It was great to meet you and interview with you. I'm grateful for your presence and was glad to listen to your stories. It was an honor to be able to sit with you and just listen to you and what you had to say, and to the future generations with the people that are coming up behind us. Again, Haishka, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for listening to Young and Indigenous. You can follow us at YAI podcast on Facebook and Instagram.
Haishka to the First Nations Development Institute.
And the Discurrent Foundation. Our hands go up to you.
Yay is part of Children of the Setting Sun Productions. Intro song by Keith Jefferson, Adam Lawrence, and Mark Nichols. Original music by Mark Nichols, Julie Lewis, and Shinoa Agawa.
Thank you to the creator of this original flute music, Smakia.
Hoi!
Way